LinkedIn is for you, my friend. Just don't make these marketing sins. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Sher, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Miss Rhonda Sher. I've known Rhonda for many years here in SoCal. She's been a networking expert. She understands sales. She has shifted her focus recently to really go deep into LinkedIn. I met with her over coffee not too long ago, just before this episode, and she gave me some pointers, things I'd never seen. So I think you're in for a treat with some cool tips on this. I apologize for coming out late with this. Just got a little busy. Then I went to Colorado to golf with a couple of classmates of mine. Golfed up in Littleton. It was really nice. Then spent a day golfing at the Air Force Academy. Drank a little whiskey. Drank a little beer. Drank a little more whiskey. So, hey, cut me some slack. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all work and no play makes Jack and Jill dull boys and girls. But hey, we're back on track, so we'll get Rhonda coming out now. We'll do another one back-to-back to get back on track to end the month as we come up on September 30th, my 23rd wedding anniversary. As I record this, my wife is out getting a massage and a facial with a friend of mine I do jiu-jitsu with. So how about them connections, huh? It's all over the place. So that's just one of the many things I do to help my wife as we go to 23 years and beyond, like infinity and beyond. I don't know. So that's what I'm up to around here. And hey, as always, come hang out with us at theimplementors.com. Continue the conversation, ask some questions. I'm happy to help. So come on out and join us, theimplementors.com. And if you want to grow your sales, come hang out with us, would you? Come join Make Every Sale. Right now, it's still super affordable. You can kick the tires for an entire 30 days. You get full access to everything for dang near next to nothing. One of the guys in the group, Nathan Brown, if I can pull up his unsolicited testimonial, all right? He put it out to me yesterday, I think. He says, Wes, thanks for all of your training. You the man! Exclamation points on both. I'm a 10-year sales veteran, but in a new space. It's given me new motivation and inspiration. I just had a great meeting with a pediatrician about growing her direct care practice. She told me at the end of all my questions, I was light years ahead of anyone that's approached her about it. She was visibly relieved and impressed with my professionalism and felt I took the time to understand her business. I sent her an agenda beforehand and came to the meeting with over 3 pages of questions, the last one being, what would you like to do next? I got a positive response, and then I suggested we meet once more with her husband who owns his own insurance business. She is in the boat and excited about my offer, and we agreed to a time for me to meet with her and her husband, who is more knowledgeable about marketing automation but way too busy with his insurance business to help her. I feel very confident we'll be moving forward this Tuesday after the second meeting. Thanks again, Wes. Would you like those kind of results? And hey, like I said, you can kick the tires for a full 30 days. You get full access to everything. All the videos, 41 videos, big workbook. I used to say over 60 pages. Now it's over 70 pages. I'm always adding to it. We spend time on it live every week. You'll have access to me for 4 live calls. You're going to get my book, 2 CDs, my sales training flashcards, just for saying you'll think about it. So come think about it. MakeEverySale.com. Now let's bring on our guest. Rhonda Sher, my fellow SoCal networking, sales, marketing expert. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. So is LinkedIn really somewhere we should be spending time? Can we really make money and get leads and grow our business that way?
Absolutely. Without question, you can. And I do it every day, and so do my clients. It works.
Because I've had a couple of folks on here that are good at LinkedIn, and I've been on it. LinkedIn said I was an early adopter, I don't know, years ago. So I've always been on it. I look up people. I do connect. I interact. I've got a couple of small groups on there that really I'm not all that active in. So, I mean, I've dabbled in it, shall we say? But are there some specific do's and don'ts we should follow so that it's not just a waste of time?
Yes, great question too. So let's start with the don'ts, because that's always the best place to start.
Are there a longer list of don'ts or a shorter list?
It's a pretty short list on the don'ts.
Right.
One of the first things that you don't want to do is you don't want to send invitations to people that are sales pitches. You just want to send a personalized connection request. So don't just hit connect, make it a personalized connection request. The other thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to export your list of connections. And I know, Wes, you have a ton of connections, probably 15,000. And you don't want to export those and then just start mailing to them, because you're going to get a lot of people upset with you.
Right.
And those are the main two things in terms of the don'ts. Is number one, don't sell to people. Don't just hit connect. And in terms of the opposite of the don't start using LinkedIn until your profile is 100% complete. So what are the do's? Well, the first thing is, number one, make sure that you show up on your profile the way you show up in real life. People need to know who you are, what kinds of services and products you provide, what other people think about you, what makes you unique, and most importantly, how the heck do they reach you? Do you know how many profiles are out there and there's no contact information? In fact, they have their privacy settings set in a way that it's easier to click over to somebody's competitor and find them than it is to actually call you. And the other thing that I really strongly recommend with people is they give you a place to put rich text media, audio, videos, white papers for you. Download your media kit. Take advantage of every single piece of real estate that LinkedIn gives you. And treat LinkedIn as a place where you can create relationships and get on the phone with people and start learning how you can help them. Always be of service. And I think I listened to one of your other podcasts with Leadology. And one of the greatest tips that he gave on that podcast was, he said, find those people that have your tribe and get to know them. Well, you can find all those folks on LinkedIn. Absolutely. Makes sense?
It does. I know as a recipient of these spammy messages, I mean, it seems like everybody's just pitching right away. More and more I'm seeing LinkedIn. I mean, people are getting, they've got a little news segment thing on the top right. And I review that every morning just as a shortcut for me, see what's going on in the news. And people get into these heated debates. It's like, I feel like it's turned into Facebook, the way people are debating. And I'm like, don't these idiots know? I mean, we're looking at each other for business, and yet they're in there, I mean, literally just showing their asses.
You're right.
Political commentary. And so is LinkedIn, I mean, is it on the downhill slope with people treating it like Facebook?
I don't think so. I don't spend much time like you do reading the feed. Where I spend my time is, number one, Microsoft bought LinkedIn back in October of 2016. So things changed and it really became pay to play.
Right.
So if you're not using the paid version of LinkedIn, number one, you're very limited in knowing who's even looked at your profile. You can only see 3 people. Okay. Number two, your ability to search has been really cut back. So with Sales Navigator, now you have an engine to help you drive. And where I think it really happens is, number one, understand who is your ideal client or your referral partner. Who are they? And how specifically can you identify them? So, like for you, we know that it's business people that want to improve their sales. They want to make every sale. They don't know how to handle their objections. They need a greater closing rate. They're probably not using automation. And if they are, they're using the wrong automation. Isn't that true? Wouldn't that be your target market?
Sure.
Or potentially and I love what you did on your podcast. You actually tell people, this is why I'm a great speaker. This is why I can help you at your event. So you want to let people know that. And you want to not use the word I and me. You want to let people know these are the kinds of results that clients get as a result of working with me. So perfect example. Your headline is the first thing that people see. And if you don't personalize that headline, guess what LinkedIn does? They make it your most current job. They default to whatever your title is. Well, unless somebody's specifically looking for you, guess what? They're not going to find you, right?
Right.
So one of my clients is a ghostwriter. He has a done-for-you ghostwriting program. He literally has a funnel program that he puts you through, and it literally is done for you. When I changed his profile and optimized it, in the first month, he made $30,000 from clients that found him on LinkedIn. Okay. So what he did was he made sure that his profile was optimized. He let people know he changed it in his privacy settings. And then he just started interacting with people. He identified who his market was, sent a very personalized message. And then when somebody responds to your message, and accepts your connection request, you actually follow up with another message that said, hey, Wes, thanks so much for accepting my LinkedIn request. Here's a little bit of information about me. I'd love to know more about you. And also use the endorsements, because the endorsements are what keep you top of mind. So if I endorse you for a couple of skills, number one, it helps you get higher in the search engines. And number two, it gets you to think about me as top of mind. And it gives you a reason to bounce the ball back and say, hey, Rhonda, thanks so much for endorsing me. In fact, I endorsed you for a couple of things. So now we started a courtship. Make sense?
So basically you're saying be nice.
Yeah, play nice. That's right. That's exactly right.
Be a human being.
Yes, be a human being and a human doing. Yes.
Don't show up to the family picnic with your Amway samples and order forms.
That's a great analogy. That's exactly true. It's come up to the family picnic and say, oh my God, Wes, I haven't seen you for so long. And I just met somebody that I think you would be the perfect person to speak at their next corporate event. I'd love to make an introduction. Are you looking for more speaking engagements? Now, if I walk up to you at a family picnic because I recently met someone and I thought of you for that, what's your reception going to be versus, oh my God, did I tell you I'm now in blah, blah, blah? You know what? Would you like to buy some? Totally different.
That's how it seems like everybody is using the platform.
So whatever you focus on, you get more of. For me, I focus on those people that are looking to see how can I help you? And I get so much more of the other. I get, I have a company and we have no idea what to do with LinkedIn. Do you do webinars? That's what I get. I get my share of people that are trying to sell me something, and I don't even accept those requests. If that's in their invitation and they don't even know me, and the first thing they want to do is say, hey, do you need a new website? It's like, ignore, done, next.
So, how much are people going here? Because I'm just basing this off my own experience. I can't remember the last time I went to LinkedIn saying, I need to find somebody that does A, B, and C. Let me do a quick search.
Where do you find the people where do you find those people that do A, B, and C typically?
Referrals.
Okay.
Facebook. If I'm looking for workers, I'll go to Upwork.
Okay, but where do you check people out? You check people out on LinkedIn.
I check everybody out on LinkedIn. I check them out anywhere I can find them. So I'm looking at their digital social media footprint.
You bet.
And I've got tools that'll help me quickly find them.
Yep.
And so I'll research them. But that's just my experience. If your client is making money with copywriting or done for you, that's awesome.
But that's how they find me as well, or that's how they find other clients. I'll give you an example. Real estate people. Do a lot with real estate people. And guess what? People do not find their real estate agent on LinkedIn. However, they will check them out. According to Inman, 42% of homeowners will check out the listing agent before they will list with them. Okay. Sure. So one of my clients is a real estate broker agent in Houston, specializes in buyers. And her profile, I did her profile, super optimized it. Okay. And she calls me up like a month later and she said to me, Rhonda, you're not going to believe this. A CEO who is moving to Houston asked me if I could help him buy a home. Now, why does that work? Because number one, where do CEOs spend their time? Typically on LinkedIn. And because her profile specifically said she works with buyers in Houston, I had all the right keywords for her. She got that client. Okay. People do look for people, but like you said, they also check them out. Depends on what your service or your product is. And a lot of times what happens is they may be checking you out, but what they're really looking for is, okay, well, what do other people say about you? How are you showing up? Is there third-party validation? Are your recommendations from 2010? Have you given 0 recommendations and received 20? What does that tell you? That person's not a giver. They got all these recommendations and yet they gave 0. So you can tell an awful lot from looking at a profile. And people do search for the services they need. Speakers get a lot of gigs from LinkedIn, especially if they're smart enough to put testimonials and a sizzle reel, right? Sales trainers like you. There's a lot of companies out there that could really benefit from you. And you're not the best kept secret, but you could be. How many people have the qualifications you do with Infusionsoft, HubSpot, Entreport, right? And they have no idea. And yet there are people out there that would be recommending and referring you if they knew you and they knew what your clients said. And you don't necessarily want to take them to your website. You want to keep them on your profile because what you want is for them to book an appointment with you and then take all those great skills that you teach and close them.
Hey, I've given 83 and only received 40. Some people owe me.
Yeah.
How do I find them? Oh man. Oh, I'm mad now. I'm mad on a Monday. That's not good. Not good. Hey, thanks a lot, Rhonda.
You're a guy with 7 kids, okay? I bet your kids have mastered ASK. Dad, how many times a day do you hear that, Wes?
Good grief. Don't have kids when you're older. This 4-year-old, she gets whatever she wants. The kids know. We're just worn out. Like, just take the keys, baby. Take the car for a spin. Dad, she's 4. I just make her quiet.
But the reality is just ask, and when you ask, it's amazing what happens. And what I really suggest, this is the thing that I say to most people, go out and Google yourself, all right? And chances are, if your name isn't Jane Smith, John Smith, and you have a decent profile, you're going to show up on the first page of Google, okay? LinkedIn is the place that, as you said, your digital footprint, that's where people go to check you out. So here's the question that I say to people. Ask yourself, based on this profile, would I do business with myself? And if the answer is no, do one of 2 things. Either take that profile down or fix it up, because people are losing business because of it.
So what about content? I know for a long time, people were worried about duplicate content. And then it seems that that's not such a big deal. I've heard others talk about, go ahead and, if you've got an article, post it to LinkedIn, post it to your Facebook page, post it to your blog post. It's okay. Google knows it's you. Yeah. Is that a good strategy? Should we start on LinkedIn and then take our content to our website, or, what's your take on content?
I think you should be publishing, and there are lots of great rules and things on how to get engagement on it. It's not so much where you put it, it's more, are you liking, sharing, posting on a regular basis, both in terms of posting, which is just an update, a quote, something that's going on, and the articles. And I'll tell you a quick story of something that happened to me, which was great. There's a guy that shows up in my feed every single day. We connected in 2012. And every day I would read what he posted and I thought, wow, this is so cool. I'd wake up with a smile on my face. So I'd like it and I'd share it. And I'd get positive comments because it was good stuff. It wasn't original. This was original. So one day I sent him a note and I said, Richard, I just want to thank you because every day I wake up, you're the first thing I see in my feed. I share it and it puts a smile on my face and I get a lot of positive feedback. So thanks for making my day every day. And he wrote back and said, Rhonda, nobody has ever thanked me. You made my day just for acknowledging me. What can I do for you? Well, make a long story short, people are on LinkedIn for a few reasons. One, they're on LinkedIn because they're either looking for a job, right? Or they're like you and me, particularly me. We're looking for our next opportunity. I'm looking for the next person that needs training in LinkedIn, wants their profile optimized, or they're there because they just want credibility. They don't get business from LinkedIn, but people check them out. So this gentleman fell into the third category. His job was every week he'd go to his calendar, his email, they'd say, this is the city you're in. He'd go out with the sales force, help them close, and that was it. His profile didn't mean anything. It was just there for credibility purposes. So he had started something called Goodwill Ambassadors. And he said, well, I've been watching you. I like what you do. I'd like to promote you to my network. And I went, okay, well, that's really cool. Thanks. So I said, is there anything I can do for you? And he said, no. I said, well, can I tweak your profile? And he said, oh, does it need tweaking?
No.
And I went, well, yeah, a little bit. He said, well, let me pay you. And I'm like, oh, no. Your money doesn't work at my bank. So I upgraded his profile, and then he sent out something about me to his network, and my inbox blew up with clients, all because I just said, thanks so much. I really love what you post. You never know where it's going to come from. So it's about engagement, liking, sharing, and that's how the numbers start to grow. Does that make sense?
Again, being a human, huh?
Yeah, being a human and just being consistent in doing it too. You need to be consistent in what you're posting, post regularly, share other people's stuff,
Right.
Put articles out there. And if you write an article, for goodness sakes, let people know how to find you, put your contact information in it, use the hashtags. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I know, when I was in corporate America, and even now to a degree, like I'm saying, if somebody's reaching out to me or they're looking for a proposal or they're thinking about retaining me or what have you, I'm looking them up.
Right.
And certainly when I was in corporate America, and I teach this in the Make Every Sale calls, I was telling people just last week, look somebody up and you don't, let's say you see that somebody is really big into, the Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
So I wouldn't just come right out, my first email, hi, Rhonda, I understand you like Boys and Girls Club, blah, blah. I do this, I wouldn't say that. But I would name drop.
Yep.
Hey, Rhonda, I would love to catch up with you. Every day this week is good, except tomorrow afternoon. I'm on the board of directors with Oak Grove, our local, nonprofit that helps, troubled kids get a second chance. Other than that, I'm available. So it's not Boys and Girls Club, but it is helping troubled youth, which is kind of what Boys and Girls Club sort of does. So there's a relationship there, right?
Yeah.
So I would kind of name drop, and that's just, it's one little example, but I'm going to find out what you're interested in and try to touch on it in some way to build that connection.
Yeah, the way that I do it, and it's been pretty successful, is it might be something like, hey, Wes, came across your profile, noticed we share some common connections and some common interests. Like you, I also have a soft spot for the Boys and Girls Club. Would love to connect and learn how we can support each other for our mutual interests. Best regards. Okay. So if your profile is optimized and it shows exactly who you are, what you do, they'll accept it. That's where the next step comes in. So then you send them a thank you note. Thanks so much, Wes, for accepting my connection request. Here's a little bit more about what I do. I'd love to know what you do. And here's a link to my calendar. And then use something like...
Okay, so let me ask you something about that. Does that really work? Because when people send me a message, I'd love to know more about what you do. I'm like, delete.
Why?
I'm like, Google me. I mean, I don't want to have a meeting with somebody and tell them what I do. I don't.
And that's perfectly fine. And a lot of times, if you set your calendar and you only want 15-minute meetings, that's fine. If you don't want meetings with people, then message them back and say, I'm curious, what you'd like to know about what I do. Are you interested in my services? Or, just be very direct. Or are you trying to sell me yours? And that's perfectly okay too. I find that it works, One of the practices that I've created out of LinkedIn, and it works very, very well, is what I call my 10 before 10. And before 10 a.m., I call 10 people. I get on the phone and say, hey, Wes, I found you on LinkedIn. I sent you a connection request. The reason I'm not selling anything, the reason I'm reaching out is I'd like to know a little bit more about the sales training that you do. I have somebody that might be a good referral for you, and I'd like to know a little bit more. So I'm starting out by saying I have a large network and perhaps I can make an introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I know before I looked at your profile, I had said to you, oh, Wes, do you realize you're sending people to your competitors? You had your privacy settings set in a way that basically said people also viewed. So I could literally get on the phone and say, I noticed that you have your privacy settings set in a way that is allowing people to go to your competitors. And at the same time, I had to actually go to 3 different places to get your phone number. So, if you'd like, I'd be happy to just share with you a couple of tips on how you can keep people on your profile, get your phone to ring, and not be sending them to your competitors. Now, I'm not selling anything. I'm just giving you some tips that are going to help you in your business. The next thing that's going to naturally happen is, well, Rhonda, what can I do for you? And I'll tell you what I need. Maybe it's that I'm looking for something for one of my clients, or it's, I'd love to do a webinar for Inman. Do you know anybody at Inman who's the contact that I could do a webinar for? You never know until you ask.
Right.
But you have to give first.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing, givers gain, right?
You bet. Every time that wins. Every single time.
Yeah.
That's really the secret.
People are just crazy. They want the shortcut. They jump right to the pitch. It's just crazy. But you've got something that can help people not be an irritating noob on LinkedIn, right?
Absolutely. That is very true. And the other thing too, and this is what's interesting, is people don't realize that they're actually losing business if they have a very poor profile. I mean, look at some of the pictures that are on there. I've seen pictures that shouldn't even be on Facebook, much less on LinkedIn.
You mean my beer funnel keg party pictures from college shouldn't be on my LinkedIn profile?
No, I actually had a gal call me who had a picture of her college graduation, and her and her sister both with beer, bottles, like clicking beer bottles. And she was literally sending out invitations to every single person, asking them if they wanted to buy the services that she had. And she couldn't understand why LinkedIn shut her down. And I said, well, you might want to reconsider your photo and your introductory message. Because once you get in LinkedIn jail, it's really hard.
What do you mean LinkedIn shut them down?
When you say, if you ignore too many invitations, or you say, I don't know you, LinkedIn
looks sending out invitations.
Yeah. So LinkedIn looks at your algorithm, and they'll either lock you down, or they'll basically say you can't send out any invitations anymore unless you have that person's email.
Right.
Okay. The other reason LinkedIn will shut you down is if you're using any of the Chrome extension bots, the automation with Chrome, they'll shut you down, and it's very hard to get to LinkedIn with a call. It's almost impossible.
Right.
So once you're in LinkedIn jail, have to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, years ago, I got hit with that a couple of times. And it was weird because I wasn't a big spammer. And now it's so funny. When you use your cell phone, they're like encouraging you, connect.
Right. They are. But there's also those three little dots. Wherever you see the three little dots on a profile, always click on them because they give you the opportunity to personalize. You can share, you can personalize the invitation, and you can even use something like auto text expander so that you don't have to type the same thing every time. You've got the same message.
I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, you're an automation guy, so it really makes sense to do that kind of stuff. And you want to be consistent and you want to always be present and, doing stuff of value. That's really what it is. It's being a person who is giving others value. Who can I introduce you to? If you're going to a new city and you're traveling, you can actually search your own database and see, oh, these are all these people that are in, Houston. I'm going to be in Houston. Well, why not, send them all a message and say, hey, I'm going to be in Houston and maybe you're hosting something. What a great way to get together with people that you've never met, but that you're connected to. What's the worst they can say? No.
So how long do you leave an invitation hanging out there?
My recommendation is if they haven't accepted it within about a month, go out and delete it.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are what I call in long-term parking. They don't check their LinkedIn. You would never think to not look at your email for 2 weeks or a month.
Right.
You look at it every day. But I have clients that literally have hundreds of invitations sitting in their LinkedIn. They have no idea. And some of those are potential people that want to do business with you, but, they don't ever get a response.
Do you accept all invitations to connect?
Absolutely not. No. Good question, too. My criteria is, number one, do they have a picture? Okay. Number two, is it personalized? Do we have common connections? And if I think it's somebody who's a spammer, and it looks like a stock photo or whatever, I'll actually put that photo into Google Images to see if it is. I know people have to start somewhere, so not everybody's going to have that 500 plus, but do they have a picture? Do they personalize the request? Do we have common connections? That's how I make the decision. And then I look at the profile.
Okay, so here's one. There's a lady. She looks very nice. She's a nurse in the Midwest.
Okay.
And we don't have any connections in common.
And she didn't send a personalized connection request either.
What benefit is it of me to connect with this woman?
Probably none. And I would say,
why is she connecting with me? I mean, she looks like a real person. I mean, she's a nurse. I don't know. Maybe somebody's
like, no common connections. I would wonder about that. Typically you would look for somebody that had common connections with you or a personal note. Maybe she's a nurse who is looking to actually train other nurses, start a business, doing something like that. If there's no indication of why she wants to connect with you, I would absolutely ignore it.
So it looks like we have two connections in common. So
okay. And you know what? You could send her a message back if you wanted to and said, I'm curious why you chose to connect with me. If she actually wants to connect with you, she'll respond and tell you why.
I'll say, Rhonda says I shouldn't talk to you. My mama and Rhonda says I shouldn't talk to strangers, right? Is that
well, actually, that's not true because in networking, remember, I always say the two things to be successful are to do the two things your mother told you not to do.
Fine.
Talk to strangers. Talk to strangers and master the F word follow-up.
So is lying still a thing? Here's a guy right now. He's got lying. What is that? LinkedIn open networker?
Yeah, and those are the people that basically they'll accept everyone.
That's an old school guy, huh?
Yeah. Now, the good news about lions are if you're somebody new and you're just starting out, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get 500 people to connect with me? Well, you can actually go
500.
501, because that's what LinkedIn says makes you, quote unquote, an all-star, right? So you have 500 plus, so it's 501.
Really?
Yeah, you can upload your own address book and send invitations to people. And that way.
I did that, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Yeah. But the Lions, you can actually go and find those lists and send those people invites, and they'll accept. But remember, you have a 30,000 person maximum that you can connect with. And LinkedIn also gives you a certain number of people that you can invite. At some point, they may actually say, okay, you've used up all your invitations, and then you have to go back to them and ask for more. Unless they see that you're using it very ethically.
Right. Yeah, here's a guy from Germany. I mean, like, okay, want to integrate it, so some kind of medical. Yeah, I've been stingier lately. Like, I don't want to connect with everybody.
And for somebody like you don't have to. You know, one of the things that we didn't really talk about is the paid version of LinkedIn. And where there's a lot, once you have your profile optimized, so, you know, you do have a great headline, you have a banner, you have a summary, you have your contact information, you have your experience, you have all of that there. If you're using the paid version, it's really helpful to know who's actually looked at your profile, because you'll have drive-bys, you'll have people that'll look at you, but they won't connect. So I look at that all the time. And what I do is I'll say, hey, I noticed that you looked at my profile but didn't connect. I also saw that we share 49 connections and we both are from the East Coast. It would be great to connect and learn how we can network for our mutual benefit. Okay. The other thing that often happens is, and this happened to me, this was kind of a funny story. I was showing somebody on Zoom how to look at other people that do what this person did. And she was an image consultant, my friend. So I went on Zoom and found all the image consultants and just kind of showed her who they were. And the next day, I get a connection request with a message that said, hey, found your profile. I'm interested in learning more about what you do, and I'd love to connect. So I accepted the connection request, and then I picked up the phone and called her. And I said, I'm curious, how did you find me? And she said, well, actually, I didn't. You looked at my profile, and I've been looking for somebody who can help me optimize mine. So it took me a minute to remember. I couldn't remember that I was, looking at image consultants, and that was how she found me. So she ended up hiring me. And one of the questions that I asked was, so how do you get most of the corporate engagements that you're looking for? Because she goes into companies and speaks to women about how to present themselves in terms of their corporate image. And she said, oh, I did this 3-month volunteer ambassador gig. And that was buried in the volunteer section of her profile. So I said, well, you realize under the word experience, it does not say paid experience. So I took that and made it into an experience section. And that's what has helped her to get a lot more corporate engagement, because it looks like, and it's true, she did do this. That's part of her experience. And that's what companies were looking for. They wanted to see that she had done this. So it's taking your experience section and putting everything in there that would be relevant from the standpoint of the person reading it. What would they want to know? So the I, me doesn't work. It's, what's their pain and how do you solve it? Because that's the only thing they're going to take action about.
Right.
They don't really care about you.
Very cool. All right. I've got to get ready for my next interview, but we need to send people to you. So where do we send them?
Send them to it's actually businessconnectionexpert.com, okay. Or they can connect with me on LinkedIn, which is just linkedin.com/IN/ and then my name, Rhonda, RHONDA And that's how they can find me. Send a connection request, say you heard me on your show. And if you go to Business Connection Expert, there's actually a free ebook they can download, which is 52 Ways to Leverage LinkedIn. Very
cool. So I will link to all of that as well in the show notes. So Rhonda, Sher, thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been great.
It's been so much fun. Thanks, Wes. Bye for now.
Bye. So for the last several months, I've been doing a lot more with LinkedIn. I've actually hired a marketing assistant helping me get with that, working with a sales and marketing coach that has leveraged some great systems to grow his business. I share those tips in the Make Every Sale group. I've been on LinkedIn for many years. I got an email from them a while back. I was like one of the first 100,000 users or something, and they have however many hundreds of millions now. I've got a private group on there with thousands of members. So I've been an early adopter. And I used to be in the weeds, but that was years ago. So it was good to get this refresher. Things are always changing and evolving. So you don't have to get into the weeds in these things, but you do need to stay current. You need to refresh every now and then. So it was good to spend time with Rhonda. Like I said, I made some changes to some critical things that are making a difference. I signed up for their navigator. I've done it now. I did the first month for free. I'm in my second month. I may keep it a little bit longer. We'll see what my assistant thinks. But it's super affordable. But it's one of the first things I do when I am working with someone or they reach out. I look up their profile on LinkedIn. So you need to pay attention to your social media footprint. That's part of what I mean by make every sale. Everything matters. Your business cards, your web page, the stuff or the junk that you post online on social media. So get some clarity on this, okay, and make sure you're putting your best foot forward. If you need help with that, again, hang out with us at theimplementors.com. It's my free group where we can carry on the conversation, actually have a conversation, because there we can talk with one another. Check out makeeverysale.com. If you need a speaker, I'm heading to Slovenia at the end of November, working on a new keynote for them and my breakout session on the Make Every Sale concept. But hirethebestspeaker.com. You pay me, I come see you, I razzle dazzle, get your folks fired up. You'll be glad you brought me out there. I'm happy to promote it. I usually will come out early. I'll stick around and stay late. So it's one of the things that folks like about me. I'm not one of those divas asking for green M&Ms or no green M&Ms or only brown M&Ms, whatever it was that Van Halen did, although there's a deeper reason behind that, but I digress. That's hirethebestspeaker.com. Please give us a 5-star review, give us a shout out online, and then go sell something.